Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it.
Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with the third iteration of Green-White Maverick. This time focusing on the engine of Stoneforge alongside Urza Saga, with a new equipment as well that I wanted to try out in Lost Jitte, which is a 1-mana artifact / equipment, which means you can find it with both Saga and also Stoneforge. And then if you deal combat damage, you get 1 counter, and that 1 counter can be removed to untap target land, target creature can't block this turn, or put a +1/+1 on equipped creature, which is pretty cool. So what I wanted to do here was have a pretty small package with Stoneforge. I didn't want to have anything in hand that would get stuck in my hand, like a Batterskull or a Cauldra. Obviously the turn 1 Mum into turn 2 Stoneforge is pretty nice. Unlike Death and Taxes, we don't have Vial to help that out, or the full 4 copies of both, so running just the 2 copies of Stoneforge, 2 copies of Saga, which we found to be pretty good. And then I did take out the Reclaimers because I wanted to go back towards being more of a Maverick style deck than a kind of land go with Reclaim up, a little bit like Depths. So I do like adding in just extra fetch lands pretty much to the mana base. And then as a removal spell, we do have Maze of Ith. So trying that out, which in the past has bit me a little bit because typically Maze is good against creature decks and a lot of creature decks run Wasteland, but we'll see how it goes. We also added a Renegade Rallier this time over Ramanap Excavator, just to get that speed going with Rallier I really like, so hopefully that works out pretty well. Hey, very cool. Well, hopefully I can make your day just a little bit better. And hope you're looking forward to the weekend. But yeah, nothing else to really say. Just trying to grind a little bit, work out how Saga fits into Maverick, if it does. Also take consideration of when we draw either pieces of Saga, and if those were Thespian Station Dark Depths, if we would be better off in those positions. I did see the amount of cards that Bo was sorting for you, which is very cool. And I do love your deck list idea as well. I really want to put that in the deck. Hey Boyd, welcome. Hope you're well. Hopefully see you back at Magic sometime. Would be very cool. Free lift, free deck. There's also a really good burger place I just found out that's across the road from where we play Legacy that I really like to try out. And it's also open until midnight on weekdays, which is perfect. I will see you at Legacy soon. Very cool. Sadly, don't get the deck home. Unless I know you and you want to use the deck for something else, sure. But typically not. But yeah, Legacy locally has been doing pretty well. Averaging probably around like 15 to 17 each week. Haven't broken the 20 yet, but yeah, it's been pretty cool. Have a winner duel event this weekend, which is nice. And then a cash event otherwise. But it's been nice to be getting just consistency with Legacy, because I know a few other formats, not just where I live as well, have been kind of hit by fatigue or just player bases moving on to different formats. Maybe formats getting a little bit stale, so very fortunate to have a pretty active Legacy scene where I am. Right. Up against Canakan. A pretty nice hand, but we don't have white mana, which is pretty brutal. There's a lot of high opportunities to draw into white mana, or potentially use the green suns to go for Noble Hierarch, but I'm pretty happy to mulligan this. There's a lot of cards we draw into that don't allow us to cast something like a turn 1 Mum, And I think a 6 with a bit more of a plan is looking pretty good. This is probably it. It's going to be a keep. We're definitely keeping 2 lands that produce mana. I like the Thalia, I like the swords. It's probably between the Jitte and the Liberator and the Maze. I like that swords is good against the sort of unfair deck, or the fair decks, Thalia against the fair decks. The Jitte is obviously taxed with Thalia, so potentially just making the land drop of Maze of Ith is better than one of these two. The Liberator we can find as well of Green Suns. It's a little bit more of a bullet in that Jitte at least just increases the clock, which is pretty cool. Oh wow, it is zoomed in. There we go. Apologies. Apologies, there we go. We are going to keep... I think I like the Liberator more, just because it's a creature. Obviously with Cradle in the deck, that also works out well, and just it applies pressure by itself, so... Okay, up against Painter. It's going to be a pretty interesting matchup, and we were pretty lucky to keep the Liberator here. I think it's just going to be Windswept Pass. I don't need to Swords the Welder just yet. Potentially I might even get a Lush at the end. Okay, that's pretty good for us. I could see like Engineer here to put something in the bin. Legion Extruder. Cool. Okay, new cards. When it ETBs, it deals 2 damage to any target. Sacrifice another artifact. Create a 3/3 colorless goblin artifact. Okay, cool. That's actually pretty interesting. I haven't seen this card before. Hey Panda, you as well. Very cool. Very cool, boy. That sounds fantastic. I think here we are just going to get rid of the Welder, getting the Savannah, as it allows us to untap and draw either Mum or a mana producing creature and cast it. We're definitely going to Wasteland the Saga as well. Pretty interesting. So it's kind of a burn. Nice. That's actually perfect, because now we get to trade on mana, but obviously go ahead with the Noble. This also opens up the line of Liberator next turn and hold it up. Our own Saga is also pretty sweet. It's a replacement for Twin Shot Sniper. Very cool. I really like that. So I think here we're just going to go Saga. They have 3 cards in hand. I don't mind playing Thalia out this turn. There's a world where they have Spirit Guide, so I probably don't want to attack for 1 with the Noble. Getting Liberator down. I think just in case we don't draw land. So next time we want to use the Saga. So we won't be doing anything. So I guess I'm kind of incentivized to just play out the Liberator here. Hold it up. And then next turn we can just play a land, attack for 3, pass, and then flip the Liberator. So unfortunately, I believe what I can do here is if they try to use Welder, we can destroy the thing they try to put into the bin to stifle it for 1 turn. So I think with the mana we have, Endurance off the top is probably the best draw. Swept. Okay. At least this can't get Chaos back, which is nice. So I think here it's just going to be Windswept. Attack for 3. That's a little bit tricky. If I attack, they use it, and then we just sack anyway. Yeah. So we kind of have to do this. And then I will just fetch, just to make sure they can't have anything in response to the saga. I assume they get back to the file here and take out the saga. One key thing is that the Chaos Defiler doesn't target, so I should definitely make the token beforehand. Interesting. Yeah, this is pretty good. Yeah. And now they can trade that off. Oh, it's non-land? Okay, cool. That's good to know. That actually makes a lot of sense as well. They probably want a Welder in response in case of a Madex Soul Guide Lantern. Yeah. But I don't think we have much to do here. I'm trying to think. Yeah. Honestly, I think it might just be a concession. I don't think we can get out of this engine that they have. I definitely don't want to overboard. We love the forces. I like the Dismember. I'm not sure on the path. The path's always interesting because I do want to, a little bit like Mother of Runes, you really want to hit a goblin as soon as it comes down before it gets to untap. I do like both of these. Obviously the Haywire Might. Soul Guide, like some Graveyard Hate is nice. Not really what I want to be doing this game. Thalias are annoying, but they also have a lot of really good answers for it in things like Fury and also that artifact we just saw. Rally is good. Mystics are fine, but I could see just having one as a tutor effect. Like Jitte is probably our most resourceful way of dealing with a Goblin Welder if possible. Maze can come up if they're quite bullish on a Saga start, but otherwise I could see Maze getting cut. Or Karakas. The reason I don't want to cut Karakas is typically this game just goes pretty mid-rangey and making all my land drops is pretty key. Hushbring is also pretty interesting because it does stop Goblin Engineer, it does stop Chaos Defiler, it does stop Fury. So maybe on the play, I'm happy to drop a Mum for a Hushbringer. The Ooze is good, Liberator. Scryb Ranger I could see coming out. It's fine, but not great. Something like this. It's tricky because there's definitely a few cards you could say are worth it. Happy to keep this, and we're just going to go Forest off the Verdant into Noble, into Saga, into Green Suns for Ouphe. Using the Verdant because I want to use the Windswept potentially for planes. So a Great Furnace would be great to see. We don't, but that's fine. Okay. I think here I'm still happy to use my turn to go and get Ouphe, even though sometimes Painter plays like 2 bolts. Well, even the artifact that comes into play and deals 2 is pretty funny against Ouphe. I still think it's just worth turning off things like Lotus Petal. Okay, that's cool. Is it parfait or is it strawberry? Oof. What is the name of red white painter? I don't think it's parfait. I think it's strawberry cheesecake, but chat can definitely confirm that for me. Strawberry shortcake. Interesting. So they go for the Fury and pitch a Bolt, which is pretty nice for us. A little bit tough if they played a creature there as well, because it would take us off the mana to swords and also Saga. I'm just going to fetch in response. Get that plains. The way they're fetching though means they probably don't play Blood Moon or Magus of the Moon. They could play Khan here, but Khan doesn't do anything against the ring. Okay, that's pretty cool. Ooh. Exile. Nice. Very nice. Attack first. And then a little bit tough because even though it's obviously nice to enter the ring, they've already drawn a card, so it's already a 2-for-1, which is pretty brutal. But at least next turn we can double spell Knight and Swords or Knight and Mum. But the fetch here kind of makes me just think they have Hardcast Fury. Yeah. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, so we could equip the boots and then use the knight to go and get Wasteland. Or we could just turn the mum online. Actually, no, because it's obviously, I can't knight. It's 2 mana, 1 to equip as well. So I think in this case, we just want to play the mum and then play the knight. All mana. Okay. I mean, they are down to 13, so potentially there's a world where the Fury stays back. I guess they also have the One Ring here, so they have protection. Soul Cauldron. Okay. Okay. That is something. I think here we're just passing with swords open and also ooze. I guess I might as well exile. Is there any need to? Exile target card from a graveyard. When a creature card is exiled this way, put a possible counter on target creature you control. So I can go and get Cradle, which makes me think I don't need to use the forest right now. Okay. Okay. It doesn't look like they're attacking us, which is nice. Interesting. Can I win next turn? They're at 12. They can use... Actually, they got rid of their pedal, which means they can't even get rid of their ring. So I believe they're effectively at 10. So boots... If I get rid of a land, 6, Wasteland myself, 7, 8, 9. I could also just go and get... 6, 7, 8, 9... I guess, yeah, they can't... Alright, let's try to eat Fury. Now they gotta eat it. I think that's fine. We took out Scryb, so we don't have a way to get double mum activations. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think the big question is if I don't win next turn, how am I winning? And I don't think I am. And so I think what I have to do is, Wasteland math is that if you sack to get a Wasteland yourself, that's +3. So that makes the knight an 8/8. The Lavaspur Boots makes it a 9/9. And then I have outs of an Exalted Creature, Green Suns for an Exalted Creature, Wasteland, and also a Fetch Land, and also Horizon Canopy. So I think I actually just don't care about this. And then I'm just sacking a forest to go and get Wasteland. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, I could also get Lush, but that doesn't... What does Lush... Yeah, Lush doesn't do enough. Alright. Hushbringer. Tough. They're at 12. I don't think there's a way. Pro. I think that might still just be the best thing to do. Yeah. Just a quick thing. Do I need the Hushbringer? I don't think I do. So I think it's Boots, equip, Wasteland myself, Pro Red, attack for 9, and then worst case, I swords my own creature. Oh, is ward? If I target with ward, do I have to pay it? Is the most I can gain on my turn 2 life by swording my own ooze? Wow. Oh, interesting. What is only opponent? Interesting. I did not expect that to happen. That was really interesting. Okay. Does the ring make me want Teague? Teague, of course, turns off Green Suns and Force, which is pretty huge. And we do have other ways to get there. Like we have obviously Collector Ouphe to turn it off. We have Wasteland, not allowed to get to 4 mana. A bit harder than typically it is, but Hushbringer also stops the ETB of the ring to give protection, which is relevant. I think we're just running this back. Yeah. What is only opponent? Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Look, mana's a little bit tight, but we do have once, and we do have Soul Guide as a pretty good turn 1 play if we don't play the mum, so pretty happy to keep this. I think with this hand as well, I wouldn't mind just finding a Wasteland off the once. I mean, Swords is pretty sweet as well, because that just answers the Goblin. Oh, no green, no, I guess we have green mana off the mum. I think we still just protect the land here. Play the plains. So the only real world I can, I can see like artifact land into Welder is pretty rough, so I think he was going to pass with Swords open. Mox Opal. Okay. I think in response to this, we just have to go for Swords. It does give them the information though of like, now I know that Welder isn't online for getting something back, but that would be pretty rough if they did. Dismember's pretty sweet. I think here it's just going to be Mum. go. I kind of want to get some value off the Soul Guide. But having it in play, like next turn potentially play a knight as a 2/2 if the mum survives. Yeah, okay. Honestly here, especially because of the synergy between treasures and turning on the Mox Opal, pretty happy just to get rid of the Shaman here. Sadly, that's not free. We might even be able to get something off the Fable discard with the Soul Guide. That'd be pretty cool. Defiler is pretty cool to hit potentially. Five mana. Okay. The Fury takes out the Mum here. Ooh. Interesting. Let's start. Thankfully, I think the Jitte is going to be our answer to the Fable as a 2/2. So I don't want to show it just yet. But what I can do is float with the plains, get a fetch, and then get a forest. Play the Noble. And then we have mana up for endurance, which is pretty sweet. I think that's the play. Could also just not care about Blood Moon and just get Savannah. That's probably correct. I also wouldn't mind if they attack with the Fury, trading it with the Endurance. It's really nice to have off the field just in case they have an answer for the Jitte. Okay. Thankfully this is covered as well by the Soul Guide Lantern. They have 0 cards in hand. Okay. I can untap and draw. See what we find. Wasteland. Okay. So play the Wasteland. 2 mana. Jitte. I could actually just equip to the Noble and keep the Knight back. I guess then if they block with the Goblin Engineer, then I lose this without trading with the actual creature. So I think we actually might just equip to the Knight. Swing for 5. And then I think at this stage I want to hold the Wasteland for their own sagas, because I'm not really taking them off a color. So I'm happy just to kill this now. And then probably just exile their graveyard right now. Especially if they draw some sort of way to interact with Soul Guide, then they can go destroy Soul Guide, we then respond, and then they respond with Welder. Ooh, I didn't think about the... Oh, luckily they didn't have a second Parlor to turn anything on. Nice. Another engineer would have also been pretty good for them, so... Interesting. Now it's going big. 6. Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. I mean, we still get 6 in, which is cool. But having our Soul Guide open here as well is really nice. Just in case they draw something like an... I guess Engineer changes things because they can get 2 back. Swords. Okay. Yeah, really cool play from my opponent. Okay. The question is, do I want to draw here with the Soul Guide? I kind of do, which is a little bit greedy, but I really want to try to close this game out as soon as possible. Okay. Can you imagine like Boots off the top? They still have the Welder though, so Boots wouldn't do anything. Okay. I think we're just holding up double Wasteland here. There's no great attacks. I guess I could have equipped Shadowspear and attacked, and if they got rid of it, it's still a 1-2, but... I mean, drawing a card there did draw us into the Knight a turn earlier, which is pretty huge. So, although we did let our guard down, I like to think it's worth it, but that's obviously with hindsight as well. Okay, that's pretty sweet. Now I'm happy to attack with the knight because they have to block with the engineer, or else we just wasteland ourselves. Which means in this instance I'm pretty happy to draw here off a wasteland, seeing they can only play one more land. Ooh. Nice. I think we get back. Could be Soul Guide. What do I really care about? It's probably like Chaos Defiler. Get back Spear. I do like Spear as it allows us to trample. And then just in case of Fury, I probably want to equip the Spear. Actually, it does nothing. Oh, they have Bolt's fine. Still get back the Sphere. And now we just equip to the Knight. And that's 7. We also have the Wastelands as like Exalted on steroids, which is cool. Nice. Very cool. Probably a few little things I could work on, like I think there I was patient for a lot of it, but then that just switched when I used the relic to draw a card. And maybe that's not great. Maybe you should just stick on the same sort of plan of being patient, but getting that knight a turn earlier does take that sort of one turn off your opponent as well. But yeah, very cool legacy. The Dismember was really nice as well, because if that Dismember was from the last league, we said it should be a 3rd path, but I think Dismember's just a little bit nicer against some of the earlier creatures like Mother of Runes out of D&T or like Welder out of Painter, where they can really thrive with that mana as well. Like Elves, sometimes I'm not too unhappy with Path, but it's obviously still one mana closer to Natural Order, which is always pretty scary. But hey, thanks for coming and watching. Hope you're all doing well. We're on the play. And we have a pretty cool hand. We'll keep this. We have access to turn 1, hopefully, mana acceleration into turn 2 Wasteland plus Thalia, which I think is still probably one of the most unfair starts that we can have. Okay. I don't mind the Stoneforge here. Stoneforge into Savannah, into Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. The nice thing about Maverick as well is that like we can just 6 now. We can just, if our opponent goes off, they go off. Ooh. Grief. Okay. They pitch an Animate Dead. I think it's probably the Stoneforge, yeah. Sure. Okay, so this could end up a little bit greedy. I kind of want to once for Saga here, but I think it's probably better to Sadly, pre-formal wear is not on MTGO, which I feel for a lot of the D&T players online. Yeah, Mono Black Helm I think can really get people, and had some really, really brutal fast starts. Okay, I don't think attacking with Exalted is correct, so I think here I just want to play Wasteland, play Noble, and then pass with once. We get a little bit hit if they have days. So I don't mind just doing it now. Okay. I love the Renegade Rallier here. Oof. Archon. Yeah. That's a very easy way to win. That was yuck. Surgicals and Soul Guard I like here. The paths. Dismember. Not a big fan of Collector Ouphe, Liberator. Sadly just Lost Jitte again. Maybe a little bit too cute. Endurance is good. Maze I don't mind. Maze obviously not that great against the Archons, but otherwise pretty sweet. Hushbringer is interesting. Hey, Cytosan. You know what? We're going to go for Hushbringer. We're going to take out the Stoneforgers and just have the Jitte, but then have these as tutor targets for the Sagas. I think Scryb, unfortunately. And then I like that we have both a way to stop things coming into play and then just cleanish answers to the threats. Yeah, it could just be the mums. It might be just a Force of Vigor, just because we did see Animate Dead, so to have something like that, I don't mind. I guess in that case, would rather have the Liberator, but... yeah, or Haywire. Haywire is cheap, but it does get hit by Bowmaster. It does, but it also turns off some other stuff from them. Like getting a free 3/4 isn't the worst. They are a ritual deck, so potentially I actually want the Deafening Silences. Maybe the Hushes aren't that great. And maybe that means I do want a Force. Which is tough, because if the Force is in the opening hand, you don't really want it in the opening hand. This is a Dryad Arbor 1-lander. I don't mind that, because we get to play Dryad Arbor turn 1. This feels very open to removal though. But what 1-mana removal do they have? Do they run Fatal Push? Do they have like Ritual into something? Okay, that's fine. We have swords for that, which is nice. Oof. I guess we don't have swords anymore. Hey Mangorg, welcome. Do Australians really eat cheese and jam toast? Butter and jam? I would say yes. Cheese in their jam though. Interesting. Marmite is not Vegemite? Yes. Big Vegemite fan here. Oh my gosh. Okay. We haven't cast a threat yet, so we can cast this. Pretty happy to get the Windswept. I should have got Lush Portico there, and I didn't. Yeah, that was my one chance. Tough. Apologies. Can definitely happen on stream. Yeah, down to 0 cards turn 1. And only had a 3/3, but still. They probably take the Shadowspear here. Rallier, interesting. Okay. Land? Swords. That's pretty good as well. We're just going to get rid of this now. Yeah, sadly. But little things like that can definitely add up. Like just that one look at a card. Okay. It's nice to have. I don't want a Surgical Grief just yet, but potentially if they play a land here and then get to a stage where they have 2 cards, at the end of draw step I might. And they had one in hand. Wow. Interesting they would go for interesting that they would go for it. And I'm not judging, but I'm just saying that they have one in hand. We don't have a threat. So I thought they might try to wait to get to 4 mana before they reanimate, or they might even try to reanimate my Noble Hierarch so they're 1 mana closer to getting the Grief in play next turn. But this way I get rid of pretty much both cards because I get rid of the reanimate and also the surgical. So potentially, maybe they had sort of a plan that I'm not too sure about, but I thought that maybe the plan there is reanimate our Noble Hierarch and then top deck at land next turn and then just hardcast a Grief. I probably don't want to even show this. I'm probably taking it out on the draw though, so. It does stop like ritual effects. But hopefully it doesn't come back and bite us and hit us. All right, land, bang. There we go, Wasteland, thank you. Ah, not what I asked for. Well, actually, it was. I should have said a land that tap for a mana. Okay. Hey, Past, welcome. Hope you're well. Okay. So let's get rid of my Noble. And then I'm also just going to draw a card here in case we draw into a land. I just want to play it. Like if their one card is Bowmaster, that is fine. Okay. Got a 5. Okay. So now we're a little bit stuck. I could Endurance Pitch and then play the Knight. But it's only a 2/2. Dryad Arbor's gone. I can only generate mana out of Cradle if I have a creature in play. Yeah, but then I just play the Knight as a 2/2, but then they attack with 2/2/2s. The Silence is only non-creature spells, thankfully. But I think I do just have to play the Knight, which is unfortunate. If I swords this... Oh, yeah. So the other line is Green Suns for Noble Hierarch by pitching Endurance, get a Noble into play. And then we have Hold Swords open. And then start attacking with the Shadowspear Noble. This is actually a spot where though I did have one Reclaimer in the deck but then cut it, which would be kind of nice. As like a 1/2. I think it's the Endurance line, unfortunately. You like that line better? Get the creature into play? I don't mind that. Let's just go for that line. It's a fun line, so... Okay. Okay. I do just have to swords this now. Take 3, go to 2. No attacks. Okay. Ooh. Does that change things? No. One, 2 becomes a 2/2. They kept with the theater, which kind of makes me think I should attack. But it's tricky because it like Noble is 2 mana here, which is pretty huge as well. So I kind of like just keeping the Orcish from attacking. Yeah, we'll take this. All right. Not great, but I guess we get to attack now with Noble and then put the Shadowspear on the other Noble Hierarch. Just to keep it at bay. Question is, if we draw Green Suns, what are we going for? The new boots are quite good because they're 1 mana, which means you can find them with Urza's Saga. Speaking of, all right, pretty sweet draw, especially with the boots. Path is pretty amazing. Honestly, here I think I like just attacking with the Noble, holding back the Saga token and also holding up Path, but still getting in with damage. Let's see how they attack. Oh, they attack with both. Interesting. Make a construct. See if they want to do anything. Dismember. Do I want to basic off this? So we currently have 1, 2, 3 mana. I kind of like pathing my own creature here. Take the 3. And that just gives us more to do on our turn. We might even have lethal? I think we actually have lethal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have exactly lethal. Because we find something off the Saga. Oh, we don't find something off the Saga. That's all good. That is all good. That's pretty funny though. So now we have 2, 3 mana. Equip. Equip. Swing for 6. Nice. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. That was a tough spot. I don't think we want the Force of Vigor. I think if anything we do want the Stoneforgers now, knowing what the sort of how the games run out. Probably not the Deafening Silences on the draw either. I don't mind Lost Jitte. Let's just see how it runs. That was cool. A little bit too fair. It does have the soul guide, but is that enough? Like, what is it? It's turn 1 soul guide, turn 2 saga. Like, there is definitely merit to keeping this hand. They've gone to 6 cards. So I'm actually looking at this and going, it doesn't have a great out to Voidwalker other than get Saga up to being a creature with lifelink with Shadowspear. The Renegade Rallier is kind of cool. The Wasteland's just pretty much a waste outside of their Surveil lands. I don't mind it. It's only got 1 mana though, which is tough. Yeah, it doesn't cast out creatures currently, which is a pretty brutal part. Like if they take the Saga, then even the one nice thing about the Soul Guide is that it's obviously graveyard hate, but it's also there to keep Saga, the first token, a 2/2, so it's out of range of an Orcish. So I'm pretty happy to mulligan this. I think we want to try to find a hand with something like Endurance as a just in case they keep a hand with a really good, like really fast start. Now it's a case of what do we drop? So we probably want to keep 3 lands, but I could see us keeping a once instead of the Windswept. My thought for that was that they could have Grief to take the green card for Endurance, but they probably just take the Endurance. So we're definitely keeping. I think it's a land. That's a little bit risky, but it could also just be the Knight. The small thing is like Saga with this hand. When are we actually playing the Saga? It's probably turn 2, play the Stoneforge, get something. Turn 3, make a guy. Turn 4, make a guy. So the Stoneforge isn't doing too much. But I like that it's a 2-drop. I think it's a land. I think it's a little bit greedy, but I think that the once being a land is pretty good. They could be thinking about like Ritual into Opposition Agent in upkeep. Which means I want to play a land. And then I could cast the once here to try to find a 1-drop. Or just pass. Just because of the blowout of Agent. And like the big stall on upkeep, I'm happy just to take a turn. Troll. Okay. I also kind of like that Windswept might just go and find a Lush. Which just because of Agent, I am going to do now. Another Knight I'll put down. Rally is cool, but I think right now it's not doing a whole lot. I think maybe like as a creature for Ooze, it's probably a little bit better. I'll allow this. I don't want to use the once. If they take the Endurance and then try to go off, we can also once into an Endurance potentially. No. But we do find another Saga, which I kind of like. We also didn't see Swords or Path or Dismember in that hand, in that scry, so potentially that just gets us closer to it, which is nice. I think it's just going to be the Jitte. And then I don't want to play Saga next turn because then we miss out on a construct. Okay. I don't mind that. If I fetch, we go to 12, which is exactly 2 hits. Play Misty, make a construct, untap, make a construct. Yeah. We'll fetch though. I mean, there's also the line here of don't make a construct, but play the Jitte and the Noble. They have 2 cards. So, what does Noble die to that a 1/1 Saga wouldn't? Another Brutality as its sorcery speed, but Bowmaster, things like that are pretty brutal. Yeah, Bowmaster feels bad either way, but I guess if we play the Jitte and the Noble, we at least have a Jitte on the field. So maybe that's the play because we have the boots coming off. Yes, so if we go Jitte and Noble this turn, if Noble dies, then we untap, we have 3 mana, we float 1 with the Saga, we get boots, we play the Dryad Arbor, we equip with the 1, and then we have 2 floating to equip with the Jitte. Knight's also pretty good. Maybe Knight was the plan. Yeah, if we're doing this anyway. Ooh, Knight does get Maze. I guess we have that next turn, which is nice. Still, thanks to the Saga. Yeah. Okay. Hey Ben, hope you're well. Maze of Ith. Okay, make a sack, that's fair. Green Suns. I think here we play play Saga Green Suns for 2. I could play Dryad Arbor equip Boots. That doesn't do a whole lot. So I think here we play Saga and then Green Suns for 2. Probably Ooze? I'm not a big fan of Yavimaya in Maverick because it is quite mana denial-esque, and giving your opponent green, especially control decks playing Loam, it can be pretty tough. We haven't seen a Wasteland from them. Interesting. Definitely maze this. I don't think we block. If they have another Bowmaster, we take 1, 2, 3, 4, but then we want to swing back with the Jitte, so yeah. Bronco? Okay. Jittery, welcome. Hope you're well. Dryad is a free blocker, but if we did smell out Bowmaster, then obviously that's tough. I think here it's tough because if they, yeah, I think it still is play Dryad, because if we eat something, make this a 3/3, 2 mana to Jitte attack. That gets 2. I guess they can block. Maybe it's just Jitte, don't attack. It's tough with this. We also have Dryad Arbor. The snake might not kill me. Real top card your library and put that in your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. Otherwise, if it isn't saddled. Definitely playing this. And then I think we're equipping the boots. I think we just take the like the one hit to see if they do us or not. Like see if it's a land on top. At least with the saddled Bronco, we can block and then eat. Oh, Wasteland. Well, that just does it. Tough. Damn. I guess if we attack there, we still don't have enough to save ourselves. But yeah, Troll definitely a tough one. For a Troll start, you really want to have a removal spell in your opener. And yeah, also a really good example of where, like, a lot of the creature decks where Maze is good, they also run Wasteland, so you do have to just be open to that. But sweet game too. The 3-mana bird looks pretty cool. I forgot its name, but yeah, it looks pretty sweet, especially with like Scryb Ranger, Shuko, but more in like Maverick space, like Karakas, obviously. Just by Karakasing it, you either get a land in play or you draw a card, which is cool. Nadu? I'm pretty happy by MH3 power creep. I don't think there's anything that stands out too big. Like, I don't think Modern's going to reset in any ways like it did for previous sets. Rally is pretty sweet. Rally is really good from a tempo perspective. Typically get back something the same turn. Yeah, I'm pretty happy that there's not like a bunch of just really big haymakers. Like even all the free spells we need to sacrifice a creature that isn't a token. It's pretty tough. Like there's no, I guess like Doom Traveler, sure. You can sack that to get some value, but tough one. Vexing Bauble's interesting. I think we'll see a lot of Vexing Bauble just for people trying it out. Yeah. I think it'll be a cool set. Give some things to other ones. Hey Pigeon, very cool to see you. I have not seen Talon Gates. Anytime you could cast a sorcery, you may exile a non-land card from your hand with X time counters on it, where X is its mana value. If the exiled card doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. Whenever chaos ensues, remove 2 kind. Too much text. Too much text. What is this? Okay, good. Talon Gates. Ah, is this the one that phases? If it, has it been spoiled or not? It's been confirmed. I don't want to take... just in case that is someone's like card that they got to spoil themselves, I don't want to put it on stream. Because it looks like it's just a photo of someone who's taken it with it in hand. The target creature phasing out is very cool. Big fan of that. Hey Jared, welcome. Hope you're well. I always just think of Geodude, obviously from your name, but I just can't get Geodude out of my head. Hey Ellie, hope the plant's going well. Hope the soil is fruitful. Hey Rick, hey? Sorry, jittery. Geodude's cool. Alright, Siwasu. Have a feeling this is a Delver player, but you never know. The old Ouphe with Jitte. Not a big fan of this hand. A little bit too... doesn't really have a plan, so... This is better. Happy to keep this bottom the Dryad Arbor. And then we actually have basics to go off as well, which is kind of cool. Scalding Tarn. Island. Okay. Just because of this, I'm not going to run into Stifle. Wow, fetch island nothing. This might just be a like Dreadnought deck. Or even worse, show and tell. I'll get Lush at the end step. Please don't intuition. Oh no. Yeah. Okay. I don't think we have a whole lot to do here. Try to get a turn. Right? Oh my gosh. Alright, Panda. It's a lot of points, but I applaud you for that. Brainstormed means there's no show and tell this turn unless they have something like Peddle Land or Ancient Tomb or City Traders. I actually don't mind Delver. Do you have a preference on the build? I'm going to put up 3. I'm going to say Blue-Red, Grixis, Rug. Oh, Ben. Done. Okay, I love that. That'd be cool. Boots can go in the graveyard. I was going to say, if it's just a land here, I think what we want to do is land, fetch, and then just Green Suns for Outland Liberator, because then at least potentially if they put in Omniscience and we put in a land, we have something to do. Which probably also means I can attack with both mums here. Tony Scaponi played D&D? No. Alright, so let's put in a land. They have an Omni. I don't want to... If they have Intuition, in response... No! Tough. Gadok Teague, Carpet Enforcers, Deafening Silence, Haywire Might. Stoneforge package can come out. The boots are pretty interesting though. I don't mind keeping the boots. Maze can most likely come out. The mums, in case of like an Echoing Truth, I don't mind keeping. Ouphe can come out. Ooze can come out. Oh, okay. I don't think the Hushes are worth it. Let's have a quick think. Like Surgical, I guess if they're playing Intuition, I actually don't mind Surgical. Like there's not much else we got going on. I was gonna say if they play Atraxa, Hush does stop that, and the One Ring, it does stop that, but that's only spectacles. Like I could take out some amount of swords potentially and bring in paths, and the reason I like doing that is if I get to path an Atraxa instead of swordsing it, I'm winning through combat anyway, so easy mulligan. The mana, unfortunately, otherwise a pretty nice hand, like Mum with Thalia. Oh, well, we didn't have a great chance either way. We can get a bounce land at the end here, which is cool. Thalia would be the best one. Surgical, no. Right. We actually have nothing to put in, which is pretty funny. Let's just get Savannah. They have 7 cards. I'm kind of like hoping that they have an intuition, but I don't think they will. I like that. I could hold night to put it in off show and tell, but yeah, I'd rather try to get it online. Yeah, but even then... Oh my gosh. There we go. Mono blue definitely tough. At least blue red sometimes you can get them with Wasteland, but yeah, definitely not a matchup I'm going to sideboard for or respect too much from a Maverick point. You can try to heavily board for it, but it's going to be pretty brutal. Even little things like Force of Vigor or like O-Ring, Cunning Wish lines are just going to beat you there, so you need to have a mixture of like Deafening Silence or Aethersworn Canonist plus a really good clock, a lot of different things, so yeah. I think it's always good to like understand which matchups just aren't worth getting getting out of bed for. But hopefully we can finish this 3-2. Be pretty sweet. And hopefully by midnight. Yeah, Pyros are pretty sweet. Which is pretty funny because Pyroblast isn't that well positioned right now. Which is like, typically it's a card if you're playing red that just like, oh, okay, this comes in against show and tell, but when there's like other reasons to run red at the moment, yeah, pretty brutal. Yeah, it's really weird to live in a legacy metagame where like Pyroblast isn't just one of like the top 5 cards. But there's a few pretty good threats in the format right now that aren't blue, sorry. Pretty crazy to note that on the weekend there was the Japanese Championship or Legacy Championship. I believe 221 players, and in the top 8, the only jewels were Underground Sea and a lone Scrubland. All right. Isolated System. Very good D&T player. Like this does have Stoneforge into a flyer, but I don't think that's good enough. This does have Noble and Swords, which is kind of nice. So I don't mind this. Probably just getting rid of the Endurance here. Build out mana. So I think here we're just going to pass with Once and Swords for Stoneforge Mystic open. Could have also gone Once, try to find Saga and get that going. Thalia is definitely going in the graveyard. Renegade's kind of cool. They take us down to 2 mana next turn, so I kind of like the thought of Foothills. So it allows us to play Liberator, hold up mana. I'll just hold up Endurance here. I actually don't mind that, just get a clock on the field. And then I like just getting Liberator into play. Hold up sword. If they want to like Flickwisp the Recruiter, we have the sword. Sometimes they do play Ephemerate, which is pretty brutal. Definitely a matchup where I do like having the what do I like? I like having the Dismember. I get Batterskull. I think this is a tough one because if they have something other than Batterskull, like Cauldra, I obviously do mind. But if I just tap out, then they do have like Flickwisp on Recruiter, which is tough. So I think I'm actually just pretty happy to get rid of Stoneforge here. I feel like they would have got Cauldra, especially against something like an Exalted Creature attacking. It's just a great blocker. But the really tough uphill battle here of being green-white against D&T is just the quality of creatures they have. Everything is pretty much a 2-for-1. Yeah. That's a pretty easy mull. Hushbringers, the removal. Dismember. I don't mind the Haywire. Probably not all forces. Thalias are an easy cut. Probably Endurance to some extent. Ooze, I typically don't mind. Yeah, they're not playing Preform Aware, which is good. I don't mind Lost. Could it just be the extra endurance? Honestly, Lost Jitte, we haven't really drawn it and we've taken it out a lot. It's just it doesn't really do enough, I think, unfortunately. Quite tough to say that. Might just be a once. Really tough decision. Happy to keep this. Probably going to lead on Mum. Mum into Noble Shadowspear. only went to 5 cards. But I would say the quality of a 5 is better than the quantity of a 7. Like 2 lands, Mum, Stoneforge, something else like removal. Really good. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, and there it is. Like Mum, Stoneforge removal, and then get Cauldra. This might just be night to try to find Maze? The new Greenland is very interesting. It'll be interesting to see how awkward sometimes potentially how awkward sometimes potentially Delirium is for decks that want it. Like, we don't often have Delirium. Sometimes maybe lands with like Moxen and Sargren and things like that. We have 1 extra mana here, so we're just going to pass with Night open. I mean, I could even get Wasteland. Take 4. Honestly, it might just be Wasteland here. Which isn't great when they have such a good threat in play, but I also want to keep them off as much mana as possible. Yikes. I guess I do have Haywire Might. Happy to play this just to boost the construct. Ooh. That's their one card? Yikes. The Jitte definitely helps you with the Shadowspear. They can then return it, but potentially, and not if they get Yorion, they might just hold up the Batterskull. Which makes sense, they might not think of a way to, like, they might not think of Renegade Rallier. Guess I don't need to. So I do want to... Shadowspear changes things, but I still do want to deal with Mum here most likely. Could even get back Saga. Kind of like that. Okay. I guess just in case they draw land, equip Batterskull, I just hold up path here. I have 1, 2, 3. So I could play Knight as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think I need the extra construct. So I'm actually happy here to play the Knight. And then should just be able to attack with everything plus path. Okay. Well, did not expect to come back. Pretty happy to... Pretty happy to see how it goes. Oh no, yeah, okay. Yeah, we have mana. The canopy kind of saves us. Potentially. Okay. Hey Thin, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Stream's been cool. I think at times I've definitely felt a little bit on the fair side for this deck, but okay. Jitte. Huh, that's pretty funny. We do want a swords. For sure. And I think it gets Saga Online play another Noble. Okay. Cradle. Noble. Knight. Mum. Attack for 3. And then I will put a draw step on my turn, because it means we can go and fetch a Saga in draw step, trigger it, and then go to main phase 1, trigger it again to get your construct straight away. The Field of Ruin does change that. Hmm. We do have Maze of Ith, of course, which is nice. Which means I probably don't want to use the Knight just yet. Play the Canopy. Draw with the Canopy. Okay. Cradle. Play Boots. Play Spear. And then I think we're just equipping them to a Noble. Could have also put the Lavaspur Boots after on another creature just to save it a little bit from, like, protection. Yeah, honestly, attacking with the Knight there is also pretty great. So Knight's currently a 4/4. It would get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2 lands in the bin with a Wasteland. Would get it to 11. So pretty close. And then a Wasteland off the top would do it. Okay. Get rid of the Shadowspear. I'm happy to sack and get a Lush here. Another Knight is pretty good with the Spur Boots. Very true. Should get a lot. Yeah, that's 100% correct. I should have got a fetch land there. I think I'm happy to keep this back for the Maze. Or we keep back both Maze and Karakas, but I don't think that matters. Is there a world where I can deal lethal? Yeah, put them down to 3 or block, potentially. I'm trying to think, if we attack 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we have... No. So close. But we can't put more than 2 lands in the bin. If we got Wasteland last turn, we would have been able to get there, which is pretty funny. Because we Wasteland ourselves and then get this Knight to put 4 in the bin. I think here... Yeah, I think we Karakas this in response. just to kind of make them have to replay it. But now I actually want the knight back because of Maze, so I think we actually shoot this back over to Noble and then attack with Noble. And then put the boots back onto Knight. Yeah. I think we need Maze in case, like, they obviously, we know they have Cauldron. That's true, like they go down to 3 and then like the Cauldron, like the Cauldron, I believe they have a Solitude in hand, and so the Cauldron plus Jitte gets rid of the Mum, which then turns on removal for the Knights. I guess the boots kind of keeps that off the table. They can't attack with the Cauldron. They can if they have Wisp. Interesting. For double protection. I think it's just Windswept because I can go and fetch another land. Now they also have Wisp plus Germ. I guess they can block with Stoneforge and then put in, I think they have, yeah, they block with Stoneforge and then put in Cauldron. Oh, but we do have Knight to get Maze to keep us off the keep the Wisp off the table, which is nice, at least for one turn. Let me read Cauldron. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a creature, exile that creature. It's also indestructible. And the creature's indestructible. So I think here I just want to give pro. No, I don't want to give pro. Maybe I do. Obviously, like, Solitude is the big card that is the worry. But I think we try here. Try to get pro white. Try to get pro black, sorry. Because there's no grayed outs. Pro black. What I'm trying to do is put everything into the Cauldron so that we can try to maze it and then go from there. but it's tricky. You have to block. They might be thinking of Sajiri Step. Jitte on the Stoneforge makes me want to Maze the Stoneforge. That's true, Lucky. Yeah, very good one. Hope you're doing well. Nice to see you. I also want to move to morning streams. Can Solitude and Response. I think morning streams would be sweet. Like become like a 5 a.m. person. Because streaming at night, it's obviously a game you need to be locked in on, and there's definitely moments where it's like little things. I think, yeah, things can happen. Solitude is not known info, but it's definitely the card that I'm most worried about. And I was trying to see if there's ways to play around it a little bit with things like Mum. I guess if we got Saga, Haywire Might would have been there, would have been down earlier, which is definitely something to consider. Ooh. Ooh, okay. Maybe just take out the Mum? Mum off the top's kind of cool because we have Lavaspur. We are just going to get Dryad Arbor here. I think we just go for Saga. Although Wasteland on the field keeps the Saga in play potentially. And then after we draw, we can see. Ooh, okay. That's pretty sweet. That also doesn't get Haywire Might. I will fetch here to actually see what's left that we can grab. Jitte. It's only Jitte, because Haywire Might is an artifact creature. Shadowspear is sadly in the bin. So let's Wasteland this. And then actually no point floating in draw step. Get rid of this. Get Saga. Trigger. And then trigger. And then we have Stoneforge make a construct equip pass. Because there's no great attacks with the Cauldron in play. Oh, but now we have Maze of Ith offline. Ah, that's a huge one. That's a huge one that I didn't even think, and I should have. Yeah. Tough. That's very true. We didn't keep in the small Jitte. Maybe we should have just to draw it, but sadly it just hasn't, like, it. There's a lot of text, but it just didn't really come up. But yeah, that's very true. Like, a Jitte attack here isn't the worst. Take out the Saga. That's fair. I don't think we even want to return it. Once Upon a Time would be kind of cool. Green Suns. Ooh. Green Suns. Okay. Do we have a way to sack something? We can try to get back the... No. I guess we have Ouphe. They have 4 cards. Ooh, Scryb Ranger? Scryb Ranger flies? Okay. I guess I should put Boots on first. I can also see time. Let me get in. We are just going to 6 here. And then I think we just want to kill the Lauren revealed so they can't return it them. I guess they could have Ephemerate. We should have killed it obviously in our turn, but time. Each player draws a card. Okay. There's not too much I can do, so I might as well 6 here. If they try to attack with the Jitte, we can give this neg1 to make it not trigger. I think that's the only thing I can really think of. can Green Suns get? Okay. Oh, okay, we can block with a Noble Hierarch and then kill it before damage. They might have just picked up on that. So if they attack, we block with Noble Hierarch. We then, before damage, give the Hierarch -1/-1, which kills it, so there's no damage from the Skyclay, which means that Jitte doesn't trigger. I will call that. Just I think it's pretty tough there to get there in 2 minutes with this going. So, and I think Isolated System was also 1-2. So, yeah. Yeah, probably could have attacked all. Also, that's actually a pretty sweet line. Could have, I guess we went to attacks, but if they didn't go to attacks, we could have killed the Scryb Ranger. Then Green Suns for Endurance, put it back. No, we'd have to find it as well. But yeah, maybe there was a world there where I could attack with all. What do we have? 2 Knights, Scryb, Construct. Yeah. Yeah, I think there was. Okay. Did I just cancel that? Yeah. I might actually call it. It's 11:45 and I don't want to be up for too much longer. So it feels weird not finishing a league, but I think it's just being respectful to my partner as well, as this isn't a closed room. But a huge thank you to everyone for coming in and watching. Tech's been pretty cool. I think there's a few things that I'd like to tinker around with. The Stoneforge Mystic package has been really nice. The Saga package has been strong. Maze obviously has been a little bit rough because of a lot of creature decks running Wasteland. Maybe more 3-ofs in the board, just like 5 3-ofs. I typically don't mind that, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, a huge thank you to all of you coming and watching. I'll finish the game tomorrow and then have it live on YouTube. So if you want to find it there, you can definitely see how we end up. But to those of you who are watching locally, I'll see you Sunday for the Winter Duel. And I'll also see who else is streaming. And see if anyone is streaming Legacy. Looks like Gabe is streaming some Vintage Cube, which is always cool. So I'll send you guys over there. Big thank you once again. Enjoy your weeks. Stay safe. I'll be back sometime in the near future. But until then, catch you soon. Hey team, welcome back for round 5. Unfortunately, we're up against our round 3 opponent again, who I believe was on Mono Blue Show and Tells. So this is going to be a really tough one. But yeah, a huge thank you for you for watching the stream. Obviously, I had to cut it short just because it's going to get late. But here we are. We have a pretty fair hand no sort of Thalia hand. We don't have Gadok Teague in the main deck, I believe, so really looking for a world where we can potentially get there with a mix of Thalia and Knight, finding Karakas being enough. So we will mulligan this. Tough as well, and I think when it comes to combo decks, it's typically a case of keeping a hand with card quality over quantity. So potentially a 5 could be better. Something like the best 5 is probably Knight, Thalia, Noble, 2 lands, and I think there's a pretty high chance of moving towards that. But yeah, we're going to end up keeping this, bottoming probably the Jitte and the swords. And then at least we can cast our spells that we draw into up to 3 CMC. We have a somewhat of a threat in Stoneforge, and then once to find something a little bit, hopefully unfair, like a Thalia. But yeah, I think Show and Tell is a really good case of picking your battles and knowing what to fight against. Noble's actually a pretty nice draw, because now we can try to use this once to find a Thalia. No. We do find an Ouphe, which doesn't do a whole lot, but it might just be better than anything else. Ouphe actually pretty terrible if we're going for a Stoneforge Mystic line, because we don't have cards like Batterskull or Cauldron Complete, which obviously don't need to be equipped to use. Interesting that they played an Ancient Tomb as if they're going to go for a Intuition line. I think it's just going to be the boots. So potentially there, like obviously a Wasteland would have been relevant. Not typically relevant against Mono Blue. I find if they play an Ancient Tomb, typically it's the turn they're casting Show and Tell. But what we can hope is that they're trying to find... Yeah, I don't think it's even worth trying to... for this matchup. But we do like the Teagues, we do like the Deafening Silences, really just want to slow them down. Even Surgical, like it's not a great card, but it's typically going to do a lot more than cards in the deck. Like, I think that the whole Stoneforge package can most likely come out. Some number of swords, if not all, the Maze of Ith. I like these. I like this. Bring in the Surgicals. There's even a world where Soul Guide as just a redraw is better than something like an Endurance. The boots I could see being kept. I don't mind the boots. I don't mind dropping down on a Mum, and it's probably just going to be the Ouphe. Again, pretty fair. We would be looking for probably exactly Thalia with this once, so I don't like it. I don't like that the hand doesn't give us exactly what the game plan is. It does have decent mana, but just again a bit too fair. Really want to find like a Deafening Silence or something like that. Okay. So we can keep this. We can bottom the Dryad Arbor. We can use the ones to find an untapped white source. And then probably just going to go with the Mum first. Mum into Thalia. Just trying to quickly think. Because if we go Mum, they go land, we go Thalia, they counter the Thalia and then Tomb into Show and Tell. We can put the Deafening Silence in off that, which is nice. So I don't think we get punished by not playing the Deafening Silence turn 1. And getting the Mum online is also pretty nice. Alright, what does the Preordained do? One top, one bottom. Okay. Scryb. Okay. So now we go, I'm just going to take this Draw Step off as well. Cradle into Thalia. And then attack for 1. Just because there's not too many. I would assume Echoing Truth might be in the deck, which is obviously pretty far away. And if our opponent wants to play Ancient Tomb into Echoing Truth, I think we're pretty happy with that. Okay. So here, I can't play both Scryb Ranger and Deafening Silence and Lush, which would be pretty cool. We have 2 mana for the Scryb. We have 3 mana total. I do need a white for the Deafening Silence, so I can't use the Cradle for the Deafening Silence. Let's have a quick think. I think we attack first for 3. And then I think it has to be Misty. 2 mana for Scryb. Yeah, I could also pick up the Savannah and replay it. But just in case of an Emrakul swing, I want to have as many permanents in play as possible. I can also fetch Dryad Arbor here. That gives me 3 mana. Yeah, and that also increases the clock just a little bit. And then play Deafening Silence. And then we have the Lush to put in off a a Lush to put in off a Show and Tell. All right, this really needs to be a pretty good hit. Green Suns is pretty good. The question is, what do I want? Like, I could go for Teague. But what does Teague actually stop? I could also go for Knight, because we currently don't have a great way of just dealing with a creature in play. This is where I kind of like having a Fiend Artisan in the deck, because you have a turn to try to set it up. Yeah. It's gonna be between probably Outland Liberator, Neither Reliquary, and Gadok Teague. I kind of like Knight because it would also be a little bit quicker in terms of damage. So if we go 4 mana, 5 mana, that's Green Suns for 3. We attack for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put them to 10. And then we have 5 plus pretty much 5 next turn because we had to use the Knight with Scryb Ranger and then untap and swing. So we'll see if this resolves. It doesn't. Okay. Graveyard. And sadly right now, very open to anything from our opponent. But it's just going to be a pass. Maybe an intuition line. Attack with all. Untap Mum, return Lush. Play Lush. See what's on top. Put that in the graveyard. Then pass. See, even that, like, we did some things, but it doesn't feel like a win, if that makes sense. Like, it just, I feel like it's very much two ships in the night. They don't really care about what we're doing. We don't, obviously, we care about what they're doing, but we don't have too many ways to interact with it, which is tough. But just, yeah, just a really weird matchup. Hushspring is interesting because it does stop a Traxer with the ETB, but I don't think that's worth it. I think we're happy just to run this back and see what happens. Yeah. Would love to see like a Noble Wasteland Thalia Night Hand. Having the Wasteland just there as a just in case is kind of nice. No. Again, just too fair. Does have the Force, and it does have a once, but it doesn't have white mana. So it would be like once into white mana, play Mum, turn 2 once for a creature potentially. I guess we could also go like once into white source, play Mum, turn 2 green suns for like a mana dork, and then we have once to find like a knight or a Thalia, and then Force to hold up. So I don't mind keeping this. I guess then we put back an extra once. But yeah, definitely a matchup where I'd rather have the full 4 Thalias or something like a Aethersworn Canonist in the deck. Or Choke. Choke would be pretty sweet as well. 2 to the bottom. A fetch line wouldn't be too bad. A Noble's pretty nice as well. A lot of good things, actually. I honestly don't mind the Karakas, and then just playing out turn 1 Noble. This way we have Karakas for a legendary creature and Force Pitch Dryad Arbor for Omniscience. Okay. Preordained before was 0 top, 2 bottom. 1 top, 1 bottom. Shuffle with the Ponder. Okay. Now's the time for Thalia, if ever. Pretty close, let's be honest. I think in that case, it's Karakas, Deafening Silence, Force, play the Mum. It does tap the Karakas for a turn, but I think we're going to be okay, potentially. They have been shuffling a fair lot with their cantrips, so I feel like they don't have it this turn. Okay. So here it's just... Here it's a little bit tricky because if we go and get Gaddock Teague, we turn off Force of Vigor. If we get Knight, we do then have a threat, but we could also go for Outland Liberator. I don't mind getting Liberator. It's similar to Knight as a threat in the early turns where I'm not fetching and etc. But Teague is also pretty, like, Teague doesn't really stop a whole lot. If anything, right now it's hitting us most. So I think here we have to go for Liberator and then probably just attack with the Mum. Just to get damage in. But 3 mana do nothing definitely seems like it's an intuition. Or dress down, okay. At least if they put in an Omni, we do have Force, dress down, and Omni. Show and tell. No. They go for Emrakul. In response, we'll try to exile both of these. They have 2 cards left. And they have the Wish. I'm actually keen to see what the line is. Just get Fluster. Yeah. Tough. Yeah, really tough one. So going down to Mono Blue Show and Tell twice and D&T, which I believe if we swung with everything in the last turn instead of just attacking with the Scryb Ranger, we might have got there. But obviously that was something that I missed and should do a little bit better at. I think sometimes when the clock goes to red as well, I do not panic, but it definitely gets to my head a little bit and is something I can definitely work on. Going forward, there's not like nothing that stands out. Let's go to deck tech. So I did like the Stoneforge Mystic package. I didn't think the Lost Jitte, like, it does a lot of cool things, but Legacy is just too unfair for this. Like, this is really just, there's a reason why no one's really been trying it, and I think that potentially the Jitte could be a sort of Fire and Ice. I don't like the thought of Batterskull or Kaldra, especially in a list with only 2 Stoneforge and a list with only 3 Mum. So you don't have the classic D&T line, which we saw, which is, you know, turn 1 Mum into turn 2 Stoneforge, get a Kaldra, bash. So I don't think Kaldra is a Maverick card when it comes to Stoneforge builds, unless you're heavily built around it. But then at that stage, just play D&T. There were times where I missed a Reclaimer, and I think having a Reclaimer in the deck would be pretty sweet. The Maze of Ith, I think it actually went into exactly how we thought it would. Against a lot of the creature decks, they have Wasteland, and it's just a great answer to Maze. So I'm not a big fan of Maze. I don't think you can rely on it in Legacy, unless you have something like Loam or, you know, your Needle deck on Wasteland. So there's that. I also missed like having just like a true beater, like a Questing Beast effect. I was going to try out the new creature that whenever you commit a crime, you reveal a top 5, put a land into play, but we're not really built for that sort of effect. It is pretty cool, but with Scryb Ranger, of course, you know, you can target anything, so you kind of get a land every turn, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I think where the slots are that I would say is kind of what you can play around with in this is obviously the Lost. So let's just put in a sword for now. Let's start at the very bottom. Let's start at the mana base. Won't be a second. It is a very first world problem to have too big of a collection due to the creator program that it lags when you want to look at a sword, because it obviously has everything. Where's the right sword? There it is. Dark Steel, Sword of Light and Shadow. So I really like this, the Sword of Fire and Ice, as just like a way to turn all creatures into beaters. And it's a big reason why I don't like Birds of Paradise is that you need Exalted, or you need a equipment that actually gives it a plus. So like with just a Jitte, it doesn't do anything. And I think that alone for me is why I don't like birds. There are small upsides, of course, like getting in any colored mana, and also being able to sometimes like chump a Murktide with Mother of Runes, but we do have Scryb Ranger for that as well. So like I would say from the mana base, the sagas I would say are still pretty flex. The 4 Windswepts, obviously stock. The 4 Wastelands, stock. At this point, I would say Dryad Arbor, Double Forest, and 1 Plains is stock. We've seen players play up to 5 basics, like Thomas. No, it's gonna pass me. But I like that. I don't mind the 2 Savannahs, 1 Lush. I really like that. I think Cradle's great in this version. Although it is only 22 lands, we do have sagas which produce creatures. Sorry, 22 creatures. And then I did just go with extra fetch lands in this build, but you could play around with some of these slots. I probably like 6 at least. I do like that Misty kind of potentially gives off a blue deck if we're opening without a 1-drop. The Karakas is obviously pretty fantastic. But yeah, I would say from the mana base, it's probably these 5 that I would say you can play around with. When it comes to the actual like core of the deck, I love the Green Suns. I love at least 3 Knights. I love at least 2 Endurance. I love the 4 Noble. They do exactly what you want. They produce mana in the early game, mid game, late game. They can attack if they need to. And definitely don't undermine Endurance either. 4 Swords, stock. At least 1 Thalia, stock. I think Once Upon a Time as well, really, really strong. And just kind of, I've really come around to loving. Collector Ouphe main deck, Outland Liberator. Scryb Ranger I would probably put in the maybe pile. In Green-White, I think the mums are pretty close to being stock. Maybe not 3, maybe just 2. Renegade Rallier or Ramanap you could put there as well. So we still have like these 8. And then I think Ooze is really strong, especially against blue-black. I think Ooze is a great creature. Keeps little things like Bowmaster at bay, obviously keeps their graveyard from taking over the game as well. So having those is pretty cool. And then you have obviously the Saga package, which I think should include both Boots and Lavaspur main deck. So it's kind of 15 cards that you could say is where I see the flex. Probably 14 because I do really like the use as I mentioned. So here you have 14 cards to play around with, which is pretty sweet. Like I think that's a really cool thing about Maverick is that no 2 lists should probably look alike, given just the basis of the deck is that it's to attack your current metagame and what's being played. And I do really love seeing different lists being tried and different Green Suns targets being played. I think Saga is good. It can be a little bit awkward with a Saga hand that also has Stoneforge Mystic. And just knowing and planning, okay, if I play turn 2 Saga into Stoneforge, turn 3, I'm probably trying to get value out of Saga. Turn 4, probably value out of Saga. So for those 2 turns, I'm probably not playing the thing off Stoneforge, which can be a little bit tricky to navigate around. And that's only going to come with more experience with the deck. But it's definitely something to bring up as be cautious. The board I didn't mind, so I try to break it into 5s, sorry, into 3s. So you have like combo, you have dedicated removal for creatures, you have graveyard hate, you then have artifact and enchantment hate. And then I just have like these 3 creatures because I think against a deck like Death and Taxes, really want to turn off the ability that their creatures get of just applying value as they come into play. So typically this would be like for control. So like potentially like I don't mind choke. I know that Tsunami is another card that's been playing around, but this is essentially how I try to go about sideboarding. But I will also add the caveat that it's not just about like thinking of control, aggro, combo, graveyard, artifact, enchantment. Is also thinking about the certain matchups, what cards you have in the deck, what are you taking out? So like, let's say against Delver, it's pretty easy to take out the Liberator, the Collector Ouphe. That's 2 easy cards we can take out. So, you know, Path is coming in, easy one. But then against Delver, you might also want these 4 cards potentially. Maybe choke on the play, not on the draw. So then you got to think, okay, what other cards am I taking out against Delver? Well, Swords is great. Thalia as a one-of is still fine, especially when paired with Wasteland. Mother of Rune's still great. Renegade Rallier from a tempo perspective, great. Endurance and Scavenging Ooze, very relevant. Knight to win the game. So maybe we're looking at the Saga plan, but honestly, the Saga plan as well is pretty strong. If they bring in something like Meltdown, it's a little bit rough to be open to that sort of blowout as well. But yeah, I think sometimes I make the mistake of building my sideboard from top down. So having the sideboard and then seeing how it all comes in, instead of just having my 60 and going, okay, let's just do a little bit of mapping of what we're taking out against each deck. So we're taking out these 2 at a minimum against Delver. Okay, we want 2 cards for Delver. Okay, what about Storm decks like Tess or Mono Red? Okay, we're probably playing against a lot of non-creature Storm decks, so that's at least 4 cards that we want to replace in Swords to Plowshares. Okay, 4 cards for Storm. And then just go through all the matchups, write down how many cards you're taking out. And then I typically like to bring in dedicated hate. So, okay, let's say Storm and Control. If I was looking for a card that could mix in with both, it's probably a Black Splash and looking at a card like Thoughtseize, which is pretty good against Control, pretty good against Combo, and kind of moving away from, you know, like dedicated artifact hate. Like let's say I have Back to Nature for 4-color or 5-color control with things like Up the Beanstalk and Leyline Binding. Okay, so that's obviously dedicated for that matchup. You could bring it in against potentially lands, but otherwise it's pretty narrow in what it applies to. So potentially instead of a Back to Nature, Force of Vigor is what we want, because Force of Vigor can come in against Painter. It can come in against these sort of more artifact stompy decks, etc. So I think there's a lot to learn on my end on just how to sideboard better. And that's not so much on like what to bring in, what to take out, but the reasoning as well as to like, why do we choose these cards? You know, why does a Maverick sideboard have 1 Pick Your Poison? And it's probably because the person's gone, okay, I want an artifact and enchantment hate spell, but I also want removal for flying creatures, or I want something with a little bit more flexibility. Let's go with Pick Your Poison over something like Force of Vigor or an extra Path or Dismember. So yeah, I think there's always a lot to learn, especially with a deck like Maverick. Any sort of non-blue deck is going to be already pretty disadvantaged in the metagame, in my opinion. I think that cantrips and Force of Wills just give you a pretty easy way out to a lot of the problems that you come up against in Legacy. And Maverick doesn't have that. It's very much play with the hand you have, which is a challenge. And I love that challenge. And that's definitely what draws me to the deck. So if you enjoy that, I hope you enjoy Maverick, because it's a sweet deck. There's a lot of ways you can build it, not just through the colors, but also the creatures or the engines you involve. And obviously in this version, we chose the engine of Saga and Stoneforge, which are pretty powerful, but also pretty fair when it comes to some of the other engines in Legacy. Saga being probably one of the better ones, but obviously this deck isn't built as a Saga deck. It's just a deck that includes Urza's Saga. Pretty big difference in terms of like not having Mox Diamonds or Lotus Petals or things like that. So that's me. Hope you enjoyed this. Obviously not the outcome we wanted, but I think we came up against some pretty challenging matchups, but also just a few lines within those matchups where it was quite cool to say, okay, let's see what happens if we do this. And it's obviously nice when it pans out. So I'll be back soon. Hope you're all well. Catch you next time.